Hey, everybody, and welcome to this very special episode, instant reaction episode of Pete Carroll Was Right, the confusingly named Alabama football live video show. Tonight, unfortunately, Mitch couldn't make it on short notice, but we have Carter and Ben here to talk this awesome Alabama win for you. So that was a hell of a game.
Yes.
Certainly more. Yeah, I'll have to apologize to y'all. I switched to bourbon in the fourth quarter, so
I think everybody listening would forgive you for that, considering what was happening when you made that decision.
But man, that was exciting. Certainly not the caliber of win you wanted. Like, I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. They got blown off the ball on defense a lot of times. The rebuilt linebacker core was at times, frankly, terrible filling on the run.
Yep.
And even the secondary had some problems. I think we are seeing now. I had some doubts going into the season, and he's played generally well, but certainly we're seeing that Hootie Jones has some athletic limitations.
Yeah,
is a way I would put it. But you don't go through a whole regular season without just having some games, at least one game where things just don't work right, and the other team does as well as they can, and they give you their best shot. And sometimes you just have to go out there and win a game that you're not playing their best, and they did that tonight. And it was so impressive to see them come out and particularly on offense just step up when they really needed to. And anyone who's watching this because they follow any of us on Twitter knows how proud we are of JALEN tonight. But they stepped up. It's so exciting to see that. All of the racists and the haters and the doubters said all their shit about JALEN. And I feel bad sometimes because these people are like, we can't win unless we put Tua in, and I want to tell them to fuck off. But like, I love Tua. Like, Tua's gonna be great someday. I need y'all to understand that my hate for people that are talk shit about Jalen and want Tua to go in. I don't want y'all to mistake that for me hating on Tua himself. Because Tua's great, but like, they asked if Jalen could win a game with his arm, and he went out there and did that shit.
Yeah,
he went out there and did it.
It reminds me, kind of thinking about like the Jalen Tua thing, and you sort of hate the people who hate on Jalen, but you don't hate Tua. It sort of reminds me of like with TJ Yeldon his last 2 years here, where everybody's always clamoring for the backup, right? It's TJ sophomore year, everybody's clamoring for more time for Kenyon Drake. His third year, everybody's clamoring for more time for Derrick Henry. I remember talking about this with you. I think before TJ's junior year, there was an AL.com poll about who the most important player on the offense was, and the overwhelming choice was Derrick Henry. Because as if like TJ doesn't exist anymore, as if like he's not the starter or anything.
Yeah.
So and we hated that. We've spoken a number of times about how we think that TJ is maybe the most underrated player.
There was a while where I thought that Damon Harris was going to take the most underrated player in Bama history away from TJ, but now everyone realizes how great Damian is. So the answer to the question of who is the most underrated Alabama player of the same era is still TJ Yeldon.
Right. And it was never anything against Kenyon Drake, who turned out to be a really good player, or it wasn't anything against Derrick Henry, who turned out to be a great player. But
a Heisman winner, in fact.
A Heisman winner, yeah. So pretty good. It's pretty hard to top that. But I think that people with Jalen, it's not to say that there's not legitimate criticisms. There are plenty of ways in which
he wasn't perfect tonight, right? Like he had some bad throws, like the
third down throw to Judy, the one that he bounced on the ground.
There was two. There was the one that he bounced, and there was the one in the end zone, right?
Yep. Yeah. So both
bad throws.
He's not perfect, but there's never been a time. I think this is the point. There's never been a time since Jalen's been here that he wasn't the quarterback that gives them the best chance to win. From the first game last season through right now, they've played every single game with him being the quarterback that gives them the best chance to win.
Right. And you know, we talked about on Thursday, we were saying that, you know, if he plays like he did against LSU, if his progression against LSU, and, you know, we talked about the numbers didn't look great, but like he really had a progression in terms of how he played as a passer. And if that represents what he is going forward, then you have to feel really good about Alabama's offense. Well, if you look at the way he played tonight, I think you have to assume that was a progression, that progression was real, that was not a fluke of last week.
And Mississippi State's defense is good.
They were good, and they were blitzing. They had him under pressure all night,
and they've been good all year. Their statistics, their advanced profiles suggest that they're like a very good defense.
Like top 20 in S&P Plus on defense, like top 20 against the run. Like,
and they're
good
balanced.
All around.
They're very balanced. They're good both against the run, pass, standard downs, passing downs. They're generally good. The one thing that I think I remember them struggling on is that they give up big plays, which we definitely saw some tonight.
Yeah.
But
by the way, I just need to. We're gonna have a quick interruption here. You and I have both talked about how y'all that are watching, a lot of y'all know Wob on Twitter. At Wob214 just tweeted, "I'm not even nervous about Auburn no more. These boys saw death in the eyes and beat it down and never folded," which I 100% agree with.
That's right.
So, Wob, if you're watching, if y'all that are watching know him, like, he's our favorite guy on Twitter, and we totally agree with him because Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. That's a great tweet. And you know, that sort of, we'll get into sort of the more of the game in a second. But I think these sorts of games where you have to fight it out till the end and you get tested and you come back, that can be very galvanizing for a team. Alabama does not have many games like this, and this could be a very good thing. There are plenty of issues. There are plenty of things that we can spend the next 2 weeks worrying about. We have plenty of time to worry about so many things before the Iron Bowl. 2 full weeks. But I'm going to choose to see this with the glass half full. I'm going to choose to see.
You put that 24-hour rule on, man. I'm doing that right now.
This is a very firm 24-hour.
Well, no, hell, I'll make it a 48-hour rule because the next game is Mercer. All right. Mm-hmm. Like, you could literally play the whole backups next week for every single down, and they're not going to even come close in that game. So, like, let's make it a 48-hour rule. Like, we can talk about this win tomorrow, right? Like, there's
Nick probably wouldn't be pleased. Nick probably wouldn't be pleased with that, but I think that we can make sort of a small exception.
Like, thankfully, we are not beholden to Nick Saban's rules or Nick Saban's sort of ethos about this kind of thing. Like, we are fans. We are not on the team. We are not coaches. We are not bound to respect Mercer as an opponent. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that we will not respect Mercer as an opponent.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that one of the things we talk about a lot is we don't really like the concern trolls, right? The people who, as soon as one thing goes wrong in a game for Alabama, like, oh my God, like the sky is falling, or that were beside themselves after beating LSU by 2 scores last week.
Yep.
At the same time, though, we don't want to ever come across as the people on the reverse end of that, as the people who, when things aren't going well, we're not trying to tell you that everything's okay. So we acknowledge completely that there are issues with this team. There's a lot of talk on Twitter about that. There's going to be a lot of talk this week.
Like, y'all that follow me on Twitter know that I try to be positive. Like, I really, I've made a concerted effort recently, in the last couple of years, because I don't want to be the type of person who just cusses out college kids on Twitter. Like, that's not my deal. But I was negative about some stuff on Twitter tonight. Like, I tweeted some stuff about Keith Holcomb. Like, I'm sorry, Keith, I love you, you're great. But they had some problems tonight. There's no question. So certainly there were problems, and if it's getting me to the point where I'm tweeting negative stuff about players, then those are problems. But every team has problems. There is no team, particularly this season, and you can see that if you're the type to follow, say, Bill Connolly's S&P Plus. The Alabama going into this week, Alabama was number 1 in their rating on S&P Plus, which is an adjusted scoring margin. Their rating was 21.4, and Ohio State was number 2 with 19. Last year, those ratings would have been 8 to 10 range. Yeah. Alabama and Clemson were at the top last year, and they were 28 to 30 in overall rating. They're just college football in general is really, like, in terms of the losses people are taking and the way they're playing, like, everything is really compressed this year. There are no teams
That's really stand out far from the pack.
Right. Like, even the ones that are not, like, there's a big compression in, like, the 20 to 50 range, but, like, even the top teams, your top 5, your top 10, are not performing at the same level that they have in recent years. So,
and you
like,
can see that the eye test really backs that up.
absolutely, like, absolutely. It's one of those things where advanced stats really should line up with what your eyes are telling you.
Right.
Like, there aren't teams that are dominating the way they have in years past. Alabama's not dominating the way they did before. Clemson certainly is not the kind of team they were last year. Ohio State is either dominating teams or getting dominated. There's really no in between.
Oklahoma looks unstoppable on offense. They do tonight as well, but they have a lot of issues defensively. The teams that they go up against in the playoff, assuming they get there, are going to score plenty of points against them. So like no team is without flaw, and not only is no team without flaw, but most teams have significant flaws, which means that so just to make sort of one more larger picture point, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say this Alabama team tonight did not look like a national championship team. I can't see this team winning a national championship, and you know what? Odds are they probably won't win the national championship. The odds of them winning a national championship are certainly less than 50%.
Okay? And it's that way every year, even when they have better teams than this.
Right. But think back to last year. It was this exact same week that Clemson lost at home to Pittsburgh, and they gave up like 45 points or something to Pittsburgh. And after that game, there wasn't a whole lot of people that thought that Clemson team was going to go on to win the national championship, and they did. Improvements happen.
Right, and that Clemson team was up and down all year. Like even we talk reverently of those Clemson teams, and rightfully so, because they had one of the greatest players in college football history in Deshaun Watson. But like they were up and down. Like Deshaun threw a lot of picks last year. Like Deshaun did. Like during the regular season, he was very up and down. Like you can't take, particularly this is college football. These are 18 to 22-year-olds you're talking about here. Teams have up and downs. Players have up and downs.
Exactly.
You can't take any game, and you can't take any stretch of games even as fully predictive of what a team is going to do going forward.
Exactly.
Like, you just, no, Alabama did not look like a national championship winning team, particularly on defense tonight. They got blown off the ball on defense like they have not in the entire Nick Saban era. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat that it was just rough. They gave up 3 rushing touchdowns, which hasn't happened to Alabama since 2006. Yeah. But there is not a single team in college football this year that has looked like a national champion every single game.
Right. And the issues in the run game, people are going to have, there's going to be a lot of hand-wringing about the injuries to the inside linebackers, and that was certainly a factor tonight.
Sure.
But the issues against the run game went beyond that. The defensive line just did not play well today. If they play better, and I expect them to play better going forward, then this is not going to be like because of these injuries, Alabama can't stop the run. Because of these injuries, Alabama is going to have to do more to stop the run. It's going to be more difficult for them to stop the run. But they just can play better and stop the run. The defensive linemen can just play better and stop the run. There's no reason why that can't happen. I'm not saying it will. Yeah. I'm not saying it won't. But what I'm saying is that the injuries are not necessarily determinative.
Right.
They don't absolutely mean that Alabama is going to get blown off the ball 2 weeks from now on the Plains. It's not like a guarantee. It could happen. It could not happen. We don't know.
Right. And there were a lot of the mistakes, as much as, and I said this in less nuanced terms, but Keith Holcomb is not the athletic player they've had at linebacker in a lot of recent times. But a lot of the mistakes against the run tonight were mental. Times when it was on the linebackers against the run, there were a lot of plays I saw where it's just they didn't.
The fills weren't good. Yeah, the fills.
Right.
The run fits just were not.
Those are things that you can correct.
Right.
That's not there were times when Fitzgerald was just. I mean, and Nick Fitzgerald is a really athletic player, but there were times when it's just they didn't fill their assignments on the run, and that you can correct.
Yep.
That you can absolutely correct. So there's okay, and I do want to I need to go on a rant about this. I saw plenty of people So on the missed field goal drive, the doink, everyone, I'm sure y'all all remember, they were running the ball and it was successful every single time, and they were killing it. And then they passed the ball on a first down in the red zone, and then things went downhill from there. And I saw plenty of people being like, Dable, what are you doing? Dable, what are you, blah, 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 like run the ball until they can't stop the ball. Just like, do you people not understand how play calling works? Like, literally, my response to that is they ran the ball on like 8 straight plays, and it worked every single time. And when that happens, what you do as a play caller is you run the ball and you run the ball and you run the ball, and it works. And so the defense says, we got to stop the run.
Right.
And so there's this whole, this is the constraint theory of offense. This is how offensive play calling works. So you work up to that, you do that again and again and again, and then it's a first down, and you call a pass because they are expecting the run because you have done that on 8 straight plays. I don't actually know the number. I'm pulling 8 out of my ass, but it was something like 8 straight plays. A pass because they're expecting the run, and it was play action. You call play action,
right?
And it didn't work. It happens. Like sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Let's think about the 2012 SEC championship game, right? Alabama run the ball down their throat. Well, guys, they might not win the game if they stick to
What was the play that won that game? What was the play that won that game?
Sometimes you have to use the run to allow you to have you have to anticipate the fact that the success of the run game will allow you to also have success in other areas, and there's no way to take advantage of that if you don't actually call a pass play.
Yeah. So the play calling signals that they run, and then you have a first down in the red zone. Perfect time to call a shot on play action. Perfect time to throw for the end zone on play action. And that play didn't work. Like, it happens. They could have executed better. It just happens. So now you're in 2nd and 10. And they called a run there. There was like a JALEN drop back, and we're doing this show on short notice where I haven't rewatched anything, but as I recall that it seemed like he dropped back and they were going to call a quarterback draw, right?
Something. Yes. It looked like a draw.
As I recall, it seemed to me like the intent was to run JALEN on that play, and they caught him in the backfield, and they didn't execute on that play. So that puts you behind the and now you're in 3rd and long, and you have to throw the ball. Like, you're not gonna, if you're trying to make the end zone on that play, then you got to throw the ball.
Right.
So, you want to execute better on those plays, and you want that to be a success. But if your issues with Brian Dable tonight, God, I feel like there are so many Alabama fans that just have y'all ever liked an offensive coordinator?
Yeah. No.
Ever? Yeah. Ever? Like, I'm sorry, is there a good offensive coordinator? Because y'all y'all that want to talk shit about everyone, about Lane Kiffin, about Brian Dable, about you can talk your shit about Doug Nussmeier now because or even Jim McElwain now, because it looks like apparently they actually don't know how to call offense, judging time at Florida. But if y'all want to talk about the tenures people have had at Alabama, if you're going to talk shit about Dable and Lane Kiffin, who do you want?
Right.
Who do you want? Because who's going to do something better? You think about this. This is just a thing that Alabama fans do, right? You think about. I had someone tweet at me who I think was not clear that I was an Alabama fan and not a Georgia fan. Somebody tweet something to me about 3rd and Kirby tonight. And I was just one, I'm not a Georgia fan, right? And 2, the 3rd and Kirby thing
was so ridiculous. The 3rd and Kirby thing was
I'm sorry,
Kirby, they were the best defenses in the country.
Kirby Smart was Alabama's defensive coordinator for 9 years, and they won 3 national championships. I'm sorry, what the fuck more do you want? Chill out.
I'm sorry that they didn't stop every 3rd and long. Sometimes the other team makes plays or something.
I'm sorry they literally allowed offensive yards, and I'm sorry that Alabama's offensive coordinators sometimes they punt. They do punt sometimes. I'm sorry. If you want a touchdown every play, I got nothing for you. I got nothing for
Yeah.
you.
Well,
But like,
look, Alabama fans like the offensive coordinators that call the touchdown play. And when they call the
yeah,
touchdown play, they did a great job. When they don't call the touchdown play, they didn't do such a great job because, we should score touchdowns every play.
yeah. And like, I just, that was a whole like side rant there. But all I'm gonna say is like, I don't think anyone, Alabama just didn't like they couldn't stay off the field most of the time on defense,
Yeah.
and they just didn't run a whole lot of plays. And so the only time the people whose job or like ideal in life is that they have to complain about everything, the only thing they had to complain about for Alabama offense was that drive where they dunked the field goal. And I'm sorry if you can't disconnect yourself from being an irrational fan and being upset every time something goes wrong.
Yeah.
You can't disconnect yourself from that viewpoint and see how logical the play calling was there.
Yeah.
It was absolutely. I would have called that drive exactly this. I wouldn't have even called it that way because Dable called the same play like 4 times in a row. I wouldn't have even gone that far. They called the same play 4 times in a row. And when you finally decide to run a constraint against that, sometimes your players don't execute. Sometimes the defense does something and it works. Like, I'm sorry, just because plays didn't work doesn't mean that the offensive coordinator fucked up. Like, you only think about this logically instead of just as irrational fans who are upset when thing goes wrong.
So let's and Dable, I mean, he not only shouldn't we blame him for that necessarily, but he's one of the big reasons they ended up winning this game tonight. Let's think back to the biggest play of the game was the throw to Calvin, right? There was like 36 seconds left in the game. That was a 3rd and 15. There's a lot of coaches there who would have just run that up the middle, taken the yards, taken 5 yards, punted the ball, gone to overtime because it's 3rd and 15. It's hard to convert on 3rd and 15. But he anticipated, the Alabama coaching staff and Dable correctly anticipated that they were going to blitz, called a quick hitter against the blitz.
Doing that all night. He was aggressive all night. You knew they were going to do that.
Called a quick hitter against the blitz, was smart enough not to call for a play in which it was necessary to wait for the receiver to get past the sticks without the ball. They called just a kind of a quick hitter to Calvin. I think Calvin probably
call a quick throw. You get it to your best guy
and let him make a play.
Trust your quarterback to get the ball out, and you trust your best receiver to make a play once he has the ball in his hand.
And it was a perfect call because they used the other routes to clear out the underneath part of the field. So Calvin, if he was able to gain separation from his man, which you trust him to do, he makes the catch, and then he has room to get the first down and then get to the sideline and get out of bounds. And it was a perfect call.
Yeah.
It was an absolute.
And can we take this as an aside to talk about how amazing Calvin Ridley is?
So good. He was so good tonight.
Oh my God.
He was awesome.
He was
awesome.
All you need here is his first big play. Where
my God, the move after the catch.
He catches that on a crosser 15 yards down the field. And that move he made with the ball in his hands to juke that guy.
Yeah.
Shit.
Incredible.
He's so
electric
with the ball in his hands.
Yeah. That was probably his best highlight of it. It wasn't the biggest play he made, but that was incredible. He made like 3 guys miss before getting to the outside there and almost scoring. And then a couple drives later, or maybe the next drive, he hits you on that scramble drill play where he breaks free down the sideline, which was a great play. And obviously the great
catch. Let's talk about JALEN throwing on the run.
Yeah, JALEN was
full Aaron Rodgers right there.
Yep. Calvin was really, 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 really good. I think that he is. I don't know. I don't know if he might still only be the 3rd best receiver they've had here under Saban. I don't know if he's like right up there.
And this might be a slightly unpopular opinion. I would put Julio a firm 3rd.
See, that's interesting. It's interesting.
Best receivers in Alabama history. Because the way I would do it is because like Julio was not polished as a receiver in the way that Amari and you're judging him a little harshly because he was in an even less pass-focused offense than either of these guys have ever been. But I think Julio is such a physical freak. I don't think he really developed as a receiver until he was a couple years into the NFL.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was technically on the level that Amari Cooper and Calvin Ridley are, but I also don't know if I don't know like Calvin went into that game in 2010 and just abused Patrick Peterson, and I don't know how many like I don't know if Calvin could do that, right? I don't know
Oh yeah,
if
I
you
don't.
place
Well, like,
Calvin.
I mean, you're talking about. I mean, Julio ran like what was it like a 4? He ran a sub 4.3 right at the combine.
Something crazy. I don't know. Yeah,
He
at least
ran a
up
sub
4.4.
4.3 at the combine with a broken foot.
Yeah, I mean this
I
guy
mean, it's
was
a
it wasn't great.
cyborg. Like it's
Yeah,
just it's not
yeah.
even like.
But it's not even. It's just for Calvin, like wherever he is as good, just generally speaking, as anybody that they've had here at receiver. And you know, he is like last year, he was not a big part of the offense. Jalen, it took a while for Jalen to develop a real rapport with him. Clearly, he obviously felt a lot more comfortable last year throwing to Ardarius than he did to Calvin. And obviously the passing offense in general was pretty underdeveloped last year. But like he worked through that, never got frustrated, still made plays when he had opportunities last year. And this year he's come out and he is the best player on the team. Well, him or Minka, but he's certainly the best player on the offense. And
Right.
like he was a game changer tonight. I mean, in
Yeah.
every time they needed him, he was there to change the game. And he also, he drew the pass interference penalty on what if Papanelsis makes that kick, that's going to be one of the biggest plays of the game. It didn't work out that way, but that was a huge play. And then 2 huge catches on that last drive. He was spectacular.
Yeah.
And there's
He's so in a way that like he doesn't have the pure technique I think that Amari did, but he's so explosive and he's just so effortless in the way that he creates separation.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah. He's so effortless and he's so explosive. He's so explosive both coming out of his break on his route and once he gets the ball, he's so explosive.
Like it's not an accident that it feels like every throw or every other throw that Jalen gets to him, it seems like he's wide open. This is not I just spent a while defending Brian Dable, but Brian Dable is not some mastermind. He's not just creating these plays where Calvin Ridley is magically open because he designs these things.
Calvin is freeing himself.
Calvin's getting open because he's that good.
Yeah. If Calvin played in like a different offense in a different conference, he would be going for 200 yards every game. Like if he played if Calvin was on Oklahoma, think about how many yards he would have per game.
He'd be averaging 200. He'd be averaging like 200 a game. He'd be breaking single season receiving records.
Yeah. So like so what he's doing here is like as like the guy, but the guy in an offense that's not really like pass centric is tremendous. Like he's been incredible. And I think one thing that we also have to talk about, we talked about sort of the call against the blitz there from Daboll, and that was huge. But picking up the blitz was something that they were struggling with all game.
Right. Yeah.
All game, that was a real issue in terms of busting assignments, the back not getting in proper position to block somebody, just all sorts of things that were.
Although I'll be honest, I thought the offensive line was better after Pierce Baker got hurt and Hasenauer came in for him.
That's possible. That's something that I feel like.
It's something I would have to look at, but just as a first impression type thing, it honestly felt to me like the left side was better with Hasenauer in.
Yeah, but I think it's important to point out though that despite all that, the 2 biggest plays of the game, the 3rd and 15 to Calvin, and then the touchdown to Devontae Smith, were both the result of blitz pickups, right? So on Calvin's play, Damian stoned a guy coming right up the middle, and they gave Jalen enough time to hit somebody, to hit Calvin over the middle. And then on the touchdown, there was an extra rusher that couldn't be accounted for coming free off the left side. Jalen saw it immediately. That's his man. Got rid of the ball to Devontae, and touchdown. So like the issue that had been a problem all game. Everybody can look at Grantham and say, 3rd and 15, like why blitz there? Why not play it a little bit safer? Why give them that opportunity? Because it worked all game. It worked all game. And you just got to tip your cap, I think, to Alabama, to Damian for picking up the blitz on the first one, and for Jalen for picking up his man.
And the account at Built by Saban has retweeted this or has tweeted this. I can't stop watching this. It's the touchdown play to Devontae Smith.
Oh,
there was a blitz on that play.
Yeah.
There was a blitz on that play,
And that's Jalen's man, right? There's a guy coming off. There's a guy.
Yeah.
There's a guy coming off.
There's
right.
no one there to pick that up. That
Right.
is Jalen's man, and the dude is leaping at him.
Yeah.
And Jalen sneaks the ball around him to get it to Devontae. Oh my! And now the clip is showing Jalen's parents, and I like want to cry watching them because they're so cute.
And Devontae gives the shoots to the crowd. I love that too. And I also love the other thing I love too about that play is that, you know, clearly Jalen relies on Calvin as he should, but he doesn't rely on him to the point where when the play dictates that he should throw the ball to his true freshman receiver to win the game, Jalen throws the ball to his true freshman receiver to win the game. You know, it's just sort of this indiscriminate style of sport.
Guys, like and like it's not like Devontae has been. You know, I think most people would agree that Judy is the most talented of the freshman receivers, and Henry Ruggs has been the most clutch, I guess you would say, in terms of the catches that he's made. But he went to the third freshman.
Yeah, Devontae.
And Devontae Smith to make the catch that won the game. So like. He's spreading the ball around. Players. Yeah.
Spreading the ball around, trusting your players, and they're going to reward you for it. Yeah, just really, really tremendous. Certainly made you nervous there a little bit on that final possession. JK kicking the ball out of bounds was bad. That was bad. The pass.
I didn't go back and watch it, but you know the play on Keith Holcomb was bad. If they actually called pass interference on a Hail Mary.
Yeah, he definitely dragged a guy down. I honestly don't know if I've ever seen a pass interference called on a Hail Mary, because it's usually like an everything goes type situation. But I'm not going to get upset about that call, because I mean he really did drag the guy down and just
I mean it shouldn't have dragged. It was a perfectly fine call.
He shouldn't. You shouldn't. You just can't drag the guy down there. You can't do that, because basically, like in that situation, they're going to let you get away with anything that's just not completely egregious.
Right.
And he did something that was just completely egregious.
Completely egregious, yeah.
Yeah, so that's but like, you know, I don't know. I thought that the defense was also clutch, right? The defense was clutch.
They stood up when it mattered.
Yeah. So how about the defense in this game, they come out, it's 21-17 Mississippi State. We go to the fourth quarter. Mississippi State has the ball in the red zone. They come up with a stop there to force a field goal. And then Alabama, so then 24-17. Alabama scores a touchdown to tie the game. Alex Leatherwood commits the penalty, so they get great field position at the 40 or whatever. They get across midfield quickly, but then Alabama stops them there. Great stop. And then after Pappenhausen missed the field goal, they get another stop right there, very easy stop. Hootie could have had a pick six. So for a defense who was on the field like the whole game, I mean, there was a point in that game.
The whole game.
Yeah,
like
there was a
game.
There was a point in that game where Mississippi State had the ball for 33 minutes and Alabama had the ball for 11 minutes. I think that was like the math. Yeah, so that was through 3 quarters. Through 3 quarters, Mississippi State had tripled their time of possession, and then in the fourth quarter, the defense played great.
You can't, like, with all these linebackers out, with all these guys hurt, you want the defensive line to play better than that, and the secondary had some times when they should have played better than they did. Yeah. But you get in these situations and Mississippi State's playing the game of their life, and you just you can't ask for more than these guys to make the stops when it counts.
Right.
And they made every stop when they needed to.
Exactly.
In the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, some of those third downs came down to just individual players not making plays, right? Like there was a third down, there was a third and long where Tony Brown was in great position and he just couldn't knock down a pass over the middle. Or there was the play where Levi Wallace kind of slipped and fell down on a little route out of like a bunch formation.
Or one where, and I gave him shit for this, and I really probably shouldn't have, but one where Tony was trying to make a tack, they caught the ball 2 yards short of
got the extra 2 or 3 yards. Yeah.
And the guy got the 6, but Tony was giving up 60 pounds to that guy.
Yeah.
I wanted to be tougher than that, but it's hard to pull down a guy that's got 60 pounds on you, right?
Right. There was a play where somebody lost contain and Fitzgerald scrambled for 12 yards on the 3rd and 10, and that was bad. So it's the sort of situation where they didn't play well defensively. I don't want to sugarcoat that. They did not play well on standard downs. But they also, on most of those touchdown drives, gave themselves opportunities to get off the field and had everything schemed well and had a lot of the stuff covered. And then one individual player made a mistake.
Right. Well,
And
and there were so many opportunities they had where it was just one, like the
right.
first drive of the game, it should have been a 3-and-out, and
Right.
then there was a weird leaping penalty on Irv Smith.
And they didn't, and Mississippi State didn't score on that drive, but it swung
But they
field position, and then it gave
exactly.
them, and then it
Yeah.
put them in a position where they could pretty easily score on the next drive. And like there was a drive where Alabama had him stopped on third down, and there was a holding penalty on, I think it was Hootie
Hootie had a
Jones.
dumb holding penalty.
Yeah, which is just a bad play. But like the point though is not to say that like, oh, like this stuff will definitely get fixed, but it's that as bad as they played up front on standard downs, they still managed to give themselves chances to get off the field. They still created opportunities for themselves as a defense. The players just have to make plays. Tonight they didn't make plays.
Like when you have a situation where you're like the problems are caused by a player here and a player there making an individual mistake, that is much more easily correctable than like yeah, they got blown off the ball at times tonight, but like it was just destroyed all night. Like, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. But there were and they got beat up front in a way we haven't seen from a lot of Alabama. And I don't want to sugarcoat that, like we're talking about, but like there were definitely times when they could have made stops tonight and they didn't, and it was just because of one or two mistakes by a couple of individual guys, and that's correctable.
Right. Those third downs, like if on those third downs Fitzgerald was dropping back and there were guys 15 yards, there were receivers 15 yards down the field wide open, like time after time after time, that would be way more concerning to me than what actually happened tonight. Just guys being in position and just, you know, being an inch off here, not making the right physical play here or there, whatever. It's correctable, and B, like it's a little fluky. Those plays come down to an inch here or an inch there. One night you end up making them, another night you don't end up making them. But like tonight, it seemed like kind of like a disproportionate amount went against them. It happens.
Right. Like, you know, and Mississippi State made their mistakes. Like you know, Fitzgerald missed some deep balls, and there was like the guy who dropped one deep. But like there are also plays where it's like, you know, you would much rather have it come down to everyone's covered and Fitzgerald scrambles and he plows through Tony Brown rather than you know, it's third and long and he finds a guy running wide open on a deep crosser, right? Like, so like it's, you know, when a guy just makes plays or when it's one guy that makes a mistake, like those things aren't always replicable, right?
Yeah,
so you don't, if your defense is consistently blowing assignments, if you're consistently getting destroyed on the ball, like those are, you know, you just, there's not a lot you can do about that. But like when it's guys making individual mistakes or guys getting beat because an offense is making plays, you don't necessarily going forward say that like this is something, you know, we're just screwed here.
And that stuff becomes, in the moment, that stuff is so frustrating. Like, I get that. There's nothing more frustrating than, like, on a 3rd and 10, losing, like, backside contain and the quarterback scrambles for 12 yards. Like, that sucks, okay? Like, that's the kind of – that really sucks. Like, that's super frustrating to watch at the time. But that's also way better than, like, just having, like, a terrible passing defense on 3rd down or something, like your secondary just being lost and letting guys run free 10, 15 yards down the field. So I'd rather the mistakes come in the passing game the way they came tonight than in sort of a different way.
Well, like take Levi Wallace. Like he got beat down the field sometimes tonight as he is going. Like I think I've mentioned this before, but like there's a reason he was a walk-on, right? Like he's not the most athletically talented guy. He's gonna get beat down the field sometimes, and he did tonight sometimes. But there were also like there was a play on a 3rd down where he just fell, and that's not a lot you can do when a guy like trips and falls on the trail. Like it's random and it sucks. It's like playing, you know, Super Smash Bros. Brawl where they, you know, if any of y'all relate to that, sometimes guys just trip. You know? Like it just sometimes it happens and it sucks. But like there's not a lot you can do about that.
Yeah. I mean, so you come away from this game if you're Alabama and you're just super happy, okay, that you came away with the win, and you trust, like, I trust that the issues that can be corrected will be corrected in these 2 weeks.
Right.
Auburn looked great today. Like, I don't want to sugarcoat that either. They looked
Sure.
really good. They boat raced a good but kind of flawed Georgia team, but they boat raced them, and like they dominated
Jalen
them.
Hurts. I'm just gonna put that out there because there's been too much talk about everything from too many parties. Jalen Hurts is a much better passer than Jake Fromm is.
Oh yeah.
He's miles better.
Oh
He's
yeah.
better as a passer in
yeah.
every single way than Jake
yeah.
Fromm is. Don't give me your crap about
Yeah,
Jake
I've heard
Fromm
people say that
because
too.
Jalen Hurts is better
Yeah.
in every single way.
Yeah, Jalen's gonna make plays. Jalen's gonna make plays on 2 Saturdays from now. Like, he's gonna make plays. I don't know if Alabama's gonna win that game, but like, he's gonna make plays. I trust him to make plays. And
like Auburn's gonna be tough, right? Like, their offensive line is good, their defensive line is good, and we all know how important it is to win in the trenches, as you know, in the SEC, as stereotypical is to be like, in the SEC you have to do this, but like, you got to win the trenches, right? And Auburn's good on both lines, and they have. We talked about we in our group text we talked about this. Kerryon Johnson is probably the best back in this league. He's awesome.
He is.
He's incredible.
He's great. Yeah.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really tough for this. And, you know, they're probably not going to have any of the main guys back. They're not like, as much as we hold out hope for, you know, Mac Wilson to be back for bowl season, which is probable, and Christian Miller and Terrell Lewis to like maybe be back at some point. Like, we want to hold out hope for that, but it's probable that none of those guys are going to be back for Auburn.
Yeah.
So Alabama's going to be in a tough situation. Like, even if they read everything that Gus Malzahn's offense is doing, they're going to have to tackle Kerryon Johnson.
Exactly.
Kerryon Johnson is great.
Yeah.
So I don't want to sugarcoat anything about that game because it's going to be really tough, especially playing it at Auburn. But this team can do it.
Yeah.
They've got the talent. Like, it, you know, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But like, they've got the talent to do it, even as depleted they are as they are.
Yeah. Two more weeks. I mean, and 2 more weeks for Dylan Moses and Keith Holcomb to just practice their run fits. You know, that alone is going to be big. That alone is really going to help. It's not to say that I don't know how well they're going to play against Auburn. That's certainly like a tough offense, especially a tough rushing attack to have to deal with. But you know, I think that Alabama's going to score in that game. And I don't really want to worry about that tonight because we're in our 48-hour window and we're still celebrating Mississippi State.
Let's go. Roll Tide.
Let's see. Buddy tweeted at us. He wants to know how long it's going to take him to get out of Starkville. I guess traffic's pretty bad there, but that's okay.
So my response to that is hopefully not as long as it took us to get out of College Station a month ago, because that was awful. It was awful. And at least I tell him at least he's closer to Tuscaloosa than we were to Houston that night.
That's true. Once you get out of there, it's just like a 90-minute drive or whatever to Tuscaloosa. So you'll be there before you know it. Yeah. Highway 82 or whatever it is. I don't really remember. But yeah, the good news for anybody that's stuck in traffic of tonight, and you should be happy and consider how much worse it would be if they had lost, because that would suck.
Yeah.
But they didn't lose.
I was already paying for like I said this on Twitter, but like my Uber Eats here they don't deliver Taco Bell, which sucks. But I was gonna need a and I had to switch to bourbon in the fourth quarter, so like
you're gonna need some comfort food.
I can't drive right now. I would have needed a serious like
you need some comfort food.
Yeah, like sadness burrito if Alabama had lost, and I have no way to get that right now. I have no way to get it. So, you know, just be glad that you don't need a sadness burrito right now.
That's true. No sadness burritos, no sad time sitting in traffic in the car. This is just all happiness.
Yeah.
This is all happiness. And Alabama, they don't play a lot of games like this. You know, they don't play a lot of close games. They don't play a lot of one-possession games. They don't play a lot of games that come down to the wire. And that's great because I don't like dealing with that stress. I like it
No,
when they
no,
just.
I have a family. Like my family history in terms of health is like mostly great. There's like not a lot of cancer in my family. There's not a lot of skin cancer, shit
Right.
like that. But like there is some heart disease, which is the number one killer of most Americans. So like there's a little bit of heart disease in my family. So like I don't need a lot of stress on my heart right now. So like I'm just glad that I don't have to deal with we have to do this as little as infrequently as possible.
Exactly. There's a great story about a guy who had a heart attack when Jerome Bettis fumbled against the Colts 12 years ago in the playoffs at the goal line. So like, football can be very damaging to your health, and we're very appreciative of the fact that Alabama does not give us a lot of opportunities
It's just
to
the
suffer
tide
those
is looking out for my cardiovascular health at all times, and I appreciate that.
Right. I just want to point out that guy who had the heart attack, he lived. So it is something that can be laughed
Okay,
about.
good, because the Steelers won the Super Bowl that year.
Right. And not only did he live, but apparently the story goes that he kind of comes to in the hospital or whatever, and the first thing he wants to know is if the Steelers won. So it ended well for him, and that's right, they won the Super Bowl, so it was a very happy moment for him. But so they don't play a lot of close games, and we love that. But tonight they played a close game, and boy, does it feel good.
And they won.
When they win. Right. They won. And does it feel great
it's amazing.
Now that they won?
It's so satisfying to win a game like this.
And I also don't want, this is like a good win.
It is, yeah. This Mississippi State team is going to go 9-3. Like, they're not going to lose to anyone else.
They're a good team. That is a really, really, as all the Alabama players will tell you, that is a really tough place to play. Like, you'll see, like, a lot of...
I've been there. I've been to Starkville. Those cowbells suck.
Like a lot, they're awful. And like a lot of athletes, somebody will ask them like, oh, how tough is this environment or how tough is that environment? And they'll downplay it because they don't give a shit. But I saw somebody ask Shank on Twitter, like, how tough is the environment in Starkville? And he said that the cowbells are like the worst thing ever. So trust me when I tell you, like, those players, they hate those cowbells. And that is a really, really tough thing to have to deal with there when you're on offense and they're ringing that shit nonstop. Or what's the rule? They have to stop when there's like 10 seconds left or something?
Yeah, when there's a certain number of seconds left on the play clock, literally, you look up and they have like an Auburn-style big screen over the open part of the field. And they display up there, it says, "Rest your bell and just yell." Which, as you can imagine, they all adhere to immediately because they are all rule followers out there at Starkville.
I mean, let's just talk for 1 second. Like, how ridiculous is it that they're even allowed to do this? There is like
bullshit. There is
a very specific rule.
Melt all the cowbells down and turn them into scrap metal. Fuck that shit.
There is a very explicit rule about no artificial noisemakers at games, yet they're allowed in because of tradition.
That's just some grandfather bullshit.
Well, I would say, like, what if your team's tradition was that, like, I don't know, somebody from the sideline ran on the field and made a tackle, like the guy for Alabama in the
You know this. You know who that was against, right?
That was against Rice, right?
And that was against my alma mater, the Rice Owls, who are 3-0 all time versus Alabama.
I would say that running on the field and tackling guys from the sideline is our tradition, and because that's our tradition, we should be exempt from the rule that prohibits guys from the sideline from running onto the field to tackle other players when they have a clear shot at a touchdown. Because it's tradition, so why not?
I agree with that. We've been doing that since 1954. It's just
it's just so ridiculous that they're allowed to ring these cowbells. But let them ring the cowbells because it makes winning there really sweet.
Yeah.
Like, I tell you what.
Let them do it. Let them do their bullshit because
I'll tell you what.
Mississippi State, they ain't winning shit anyway.
I bet you that when Devontae got into that end zone, I bet you those cowbells were real quiet. I bet you couldn't hear one single cowbell in that whole stadium ringing because that's right. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it. Nope. No, it's done. It's over.
Oh, Okay. Do we have any more substantive stuff to say about the game? Because
I don't think so. I don't.
Okay.
I'm kind of out of substance stuff. There's a lot of things to sort of go to, that we got to see on the rewatch, and we'll obviously have a more formal show later in the week where we'll also be joined by Mitch, and we can really sort of dig into
Yeah.
that episode. That part of the show will probably be more focused on the issues that Alabama had in this game,
Right.
and the things that they need to do to correct those issues, and sort of the outlook going forward. So we will not sort of like stray. We won't like turn a blind eye towards that. It exists. It's very real. It's something that, excuse me, it's something that we want to talk about. It's something that's very sort of germane to the ultimate goal that this team has, which is to win the national championship. So we're gonna get there. But for tonight, I'm happy just to celebrate.
Tonight, Roll Tide, y'all.
Tonight is just all about Roll Tide. So
yeah. So we'll wrap up for tonight. But we as watching this from the numbers, we were averaging like 10 to 13 live viewers for this, which is the best we've ever done for any show. So thank y'all for tuning in.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Late as hell on your Saturday night to watch just the two of us
just ramble on about nonsense.
just to talk. Just to basically go Roll Tide on that ass right here. So so thanks y'all for tuning in. We hope y'all enjoyed our ramblings, but this was fun, and we'll see y'all later this week. And Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.